They just come for pets. Yeah, big sweetums. Good girl. Thanks for being here with me. One of the fortunate things about being a painter is that I never need to buy a tripod. I just prop my camera up on my easel. Low budget. So hey, everybody. This is Surina coming to you in sort of late October of 2020. I kind of just wanted to do a wee ramble today because I've been feeling a little bit better. If you guys watched my previous video, you'll know that I've been struggling with both physical and mental health struggles in the past few months. And to be honest, I just feel like I've been asleep for the past 3 months, and I'm finally starting to like come out of it, out of my stupor. And it kind of motivated me to sit in front of the camera and expel some of the weird thoughts that have been sort of swimming around in the dome for at least the past week, because I've definitely had a few things to think about. And honestly, what motivated me to make this a video in the first place was I have like this ritual where anytime we come to a Mercury retrograde, I like to watch Molly Roberts's video that she did many years ago about Mercury retrograde, because they're just really healthy reminders. I feel like I have a tendency to like fall into that superstition panic where like oh god, the world's coming to an end because it's Mercury retrograde. And I know that I'm not alone in that. I feel like a lot of people have this sort of like reflexive freak out whenever we enter this part of the year. And what's interesting is that it happens like what, 2 or 3 times a year, so like everybody freaks out collectively whenever one planet moves backwards. But this year has been particularly interesting because not of Mercury retrograde, but because of Mars retrograde. And it's funny to me that like I felt the effects of Mars retrograde way before I remembered that a Mercury retrograde was sort of going to be performing a wee dance in tandem with Mars this year. And the Mars retrograde has been bananas. Like I know that a lot of people sort of in astrological circles and other places kind of forewarned everyone of the dangers of Mars retrograde, in particular that people were known to like lose their temper a lot. And let's just say that I've lost my temper a few times during this time. And that's the thing, is I can't quite tell if it's just like programmed into me because I was reading all of these blogs, or if it really is just like some kind of cosmic goop. I would say that the cosmic goop kind of hit me at one point because it wasn't my freak out. It was, I had been assaulted by a homeless woman here in the city when I was walking home with my groceries. This happened like a month ago now, or maybe a little more. And yeah, it was one of those instances where I was just kind of like minding my own business and not even really paying attention to this woman. And we were walking in opposite directions on the sidewalk, and she had gotten like here, so like out of my kind of peripheral vision, and then she sucker punched me in the head, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like and I freak out whenever someone just like physically attacks me. Especially when I have no idea what's going on, my PTSD kicks in and I just kind of crumble, and I started to cry, and it was this whole big ordeal. People on the street were really nice to me. Apparently that woman had been harassing a lot more people than me, so it's not like she singled me out above all others. She was giving a lot of other people a hard time and picking fights with others. So it was a freaky day. And the first thing that I thought was like, Mars retrograde, like Mars retrograde in Aries. Like, is this what people are doing right now? Like, everyone is just kind of like, and it made me scratch my head a little bit. And this woman was very clearly mentally ill. Like, I literally wasn't even looking at her, but she kind of saw a threat in me for whatever reason. And I would say that's the sign of someone who requires some counseling or medication kind of thing. And because she's homeless, I don't expect that she's getting adequate care. And I had elected at that time to press charges against this woman, and it was a choice I was hesitant to make, only because I never wanted to see her again. You know, when someone just attacks you out of nowhere, do you really want to like confront them at another time in your life? Like, no thanks. I'd rather just you disappear and forget about you completely. But because she had been causing trouble to the other people on that street who had all lived there, I asked them. I was like, hey, do you guys want me to press charges? Because otherwise I'm going home. And they said, yes, please do. So that was kind of my solution to that. As of now, there hasn't been any result or I haven't heard from the courts or anything that they had arrested this woman or whatever. But you know, my understanding was that if I had the opportunity to make sure that she got the help that she needed, I would do that. Because you can't just let somebody go around attacking people. Like, I'm you know, a grown adult woman, mostly healthy, definitely strong enough to defend myself, even though I chose not to do that day. But God forbid she like hit somebody's kid or something. So I was just like, okay, I have a neighborhood to protect here, so this is what I'm gonna do. So whenever something comes of that, I'll know more. But in the meantime, it just was like one of those freaky incidences that just felt like too coincidental, you know what I mean? Because I was like, I almost thought that I would remain untouched and that it would just be me dealing with my own anger and my own aggression issues during Mars retrograde. And then when Mercury turned retrograde, I actually started feeling better, which was weird. I've been, as I said before, dealing with an illness, a physical illness, and it's kind of hormonal in nature. I'll just have out with it. I have a cyst on my ovary, and I need to have it surgically removed in December, and that can put off some hormonal imbalance. And you know, I'm kind of investigating it. After I have it out, I get to see how I'm feeling, and then if I continue having like hormonal problems, I'll probably start seeing an endocrinologist and investigate further. Like, it's just one of those things where like nobody's really sure what's causing it yet. They've given me a few ideas of what it could be, but there's no definitive diagnosis as of now. It's just a persistent cyst that just keeps growing on my right ovary. And it's very uncomfortable, and there are days when I'm in pain, and there are days when my mobility is limited, and I'm scared. Like, there's really no way to mince words about it. I'm terrified of what it might be. And I did that thing where like I was Googling my symptoms too much, and I love to lie to myself essentially and thinking that I know exactly what I have. And I've certainly scared myself into thinking like worst case scenario, like, oh my God, is it cancer? Oh my God, am I going through early menopause? Like everything under the sun. And you know, it's just one of those things where like Mercury retrograde in particular has kind of reminded me that there's really only so much that's within my control right now, and really only so much information that I have at my disposal, and I can guess until the cows come home. But you know, until until they remove the thing and give it to a pathologist, there's really no way for us to know. So like, why am I torturing myself? Why am I giving myself such a hard time? And also, you know, outside of the health things, Mercury retrograde has definitely kind of like jarred me into really examining kind of the ways in which I have been kind of foolish or a little too carefree in some of the choices that I've made, and also ways in which I've been overly cautious. I'm speaking specifically about the pandemic because as a result of COVID, I started working from home. So my office job is now an at-home office job, and I made the mistake of thinking that this was a wonderful thing. And there are things that are wonderful about it, but I think I fooled myself into thinking I liked it a little bit too much. But now that I sit at home all the time by myself, not really seeing other human beings, I kind of like, I'm getting kind of tired of it. I do like working from home, but I took it to extremes where not only would I work from home, I just wouldn't go out, I wouldn't see friends, I wouldn't do anything. Like I was basically like a social hermit. And that is okay if it's temporary or if it's to like kind of recharge your batteries kind of thing, but when it's your everyday for months and months on end, I think the depression snuck up on me, and I didn't really realize that that's why I was depressed until I went away last weekend to Delaware to see a few friends. And then when I got back, suddenly I could like talk like a normal person again. I can't tell you, like, I mean, like, in this room, I spend most of my time working or, like, working on art and stuff like that, but how much of it am I doing it non-verbally? You know what I mean? Not really talking to people. The best I can get is, like, the occasional video call or texting my friends. But even after a while, like, texting people didn't feel right. Video calls certainly didn't feel right. It feels like talking through glass when you're video calling your friends. You know what I mean? Like when you're speaking to someone on video call, there's that delay. So like you're always a few seconds behind them and they're always a few seconds behind you. And so there's like this kind of clunky awkwardness that happens with your conversations when you're doing it through your cell phones and stuff. And I don't know, after a while, I just started picking up on the weird vibes of that and how it was affecting my conversations with friends. And then I wasn't really able to connect to people. I certainly was having a difficult time accessing my own personal empathy. Like I was just so drained. And, you know, my mental health was so affected that I'm pretty sure it was also causing some like additional physical symptoms that I maybe mistook for what was going on with the cyst. Like, who knows? I don't know. Like, until things start like leveling out again, there's really no way for me to know what variables are part of what. Like, what symptoms are part of the mental health and what symptoms are part of the physical problem that I'm having. So this is I'm all still trying to figure it out and regaining some clarity. I guess I just kind of wanted to sit and talk about it for a minute because today was actually a really good day. I had a decent weekend. I got a lot of chores done, which is good because when I was sitting depressed for too long, I had this habit of just like being in bed all the time and putting movies on and not really watching them and scrolling my phone but not really reading anything. And the scrolling was like the worst part of it. I was becoming so overstimulated that like friends would just text me like normal messages like, hey, how's it going? And suddenly I was like extremely irritable that they even thought to talk to me. Like it's terrible. Like I hate that side of my personality that comes out when I'm feeling overburdened. And really all I did was like I tried to multitask too much. I would put a movie on and I would be playing a game on my phone and I would be watching a YouTube video, and I would be scrolling on Facebook. Like, it just got out of hand. And, you know, maybe it's because I chose with the upcoming Mercury retrograde to just, like, legitimately unplug and spend as little time on social media as possible. I certainly put Facebook down a greater deal as of now. And it's helping. And I'm trying to be a little bit more proactive now about not being like super COVID anxious anymore. Like it's good to be cautious. We still have a respiratory disease that's spreading around, and we're coming up on fall too, so you know it pays to be extra careful. But there are certain ways in which COVID made me neurotic in an unhealthy way. Like those habits that I had built up at the start of the pandemic, like washing my hands too much, sanitizing the death out of everything, refusing to go near people, that was starting to like negatively affect my personality. And you kind of just have to be sensible. Like, I don't know. See, the thing is, like, I don't want to be too irreverent about COVID. I don't want to pretend like, oh, I'll be fine with just like whatever. Like, no, it pays to take extra precautions. But I do think that there is like a limit. Like, you can toe the line too far on the other side and fall off. And I think I did that for a while when I was just like refusing to go anywhere or see anyone. And you don't realize how much you rely on interpersonal connections with other human beings to keep you sane. So me dealing with that right now has shone a light on that way. And it was kind of like forcing me into these weird patterns with the friends that I did have, where I was speaking on autopilot a bit too much, or like, how do I want to put this? I think it was pretentious, essentially. Like, I was being pretentious with a lot of people and not really exposing my true feelings on certain matters, and just feeling like I didn't have a voice. And that's really sad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody likes to feel that way. I certainly don't. I mean, have you heard me? I'm loud. I've got a big laugh and a lot of opinions. I was not intentionally, but I was stifling myself a bit too much, to a degree that I feel is unhealthy. And now I've got to like pull myself out of the depths and figure out how to function again. And the weekend has helped. I got my chores done. I bought some plants. Oh, I should show you my plants. Since we're here, this phone that I got, which has this function, woohoo! Camera flip and shot. So this is what remains of the herb garden that I started over the summer. Unfortunately, it kind of shit the bed when I hit my depressive spot, so this is like half the size of what it used to be. I had a different basil plant. This is the one that remains right here in the front, and that one died. I had a rosemary that died. I had oregano that died, but the sage is so hardy. Like, it doesn't look super great, but it's still alive, and that gives me a lot of hope. And then I got some clippings from my ex-husband of some pretty succulents that I'm hoping will root soon. I just potted them today. And then I saved this little peace lily from Lowe's. It was on the clearance shelf. And then there are some others in the kitchen. Let's go on a little walk, shall we? Do 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 do. This is a funny song. Hi, Pixel. And here are some of my other plants. This one's like a wee cactus daddy. I can't say I know exactly what these are. Jade is about the closest that I'll ever get to certain succulent plants, but those are some other little clippings that he gave me. And then, that's the peace lily I've had for years. But then I also have this aloe over here, and look, look how I've like jerry-rigged it. It's so tall and huge, and when I potted it yesterday, it just kind of fell out of the pot because of how heavy it is, so I had to kind of like ribbon it up. And then this is like a lantern stand sort of John, and I had to like tie it together with ribbon. So yes, I am rekindling my love of my nurturing spirit by bringing more plants into the home, because you can never have too many plants. And I don't really have the problem of my cat chewing on them. That's never really been a thing that she likes to do, so I'm pretty fortunate in that way. Cool. Pardon the cleavage. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember what it's like to function right now. I think a lot of people are. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who came over tonight for dinner, and he was basically just like nodding while I was telling him all of this stuff. And I forget, you know, I think that's another symptom of what's going on right now, is that like I kind of forget that other people are also going through it. You know what I mean? There's this sort of inclination I think we have sometimes to get sort of trapped in our heads and trapped in our own little worlds. and forget that we're sharing a collective experience right now, in particular with COVID. It's just been a really fucking stressful year. And I don't think it's unreasonable for us to be going out of our gourd. I don't think it's uncommon or unreasonable for us to be losing our minds just a tad. And if we're having collective depressive episodes, then perhaps it's within our best interest to, like, collectively figure out how to treat this problem or how to adapt to it. And as I said in my previous video, I think that we have a responsibility as the dark half of the year gets darker, and as we approach the solstice, that we really have to try to find ways to, like, soldier through this. It's not going to be easy when everything's dark and you feel so deserted. Yeah, I've already been feeling that way, and that's been since the end of summer, so imagine how winter will be. And who's to say? Like, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that my warning is one that a lot of people are getting wind of right now, even if it doesn't come from me. Like, I hope that a lot of other people are kind of, like, cluing in to the fact that we need to be a little bit more focused on how we can maintain warmth and connection and a sense of belonging and a sense of kinship with the people in our lives, in a weird sort of place in history that has made a lot of people feel isolated. And I don't know about you, but there was a period of the pandemic over the summer where I was actually starting to feel resentful of a lot of my friends because they had kind of probably caught on earlier than I did. And I was seeing sort of their social media posts where they were, like, visiting friends, and this disease, coronavirus, has kind of taught people how to be, like, uber paranoid. And what's funny to me about that is that, like, yes, there are some practices that we put into place that are maybe not so healthy, or certainly not going to help us get rid of a highly infectious respiratory disease like COVID. But there are other activities that involve other people that probably won't get us sick. Like, seeing a friend every couple weeks is probably not going to get you sick. Going to the grocery store every week is probably not going to get you sick. I mean, there's, like, now that we're wearing masks, I'm incredibly respectful of other people's space, but I've always been respectful of other people's spaces. You know what I mean? So now it's just, like, with extra caution. The places that I often found that got me the most sick were the ones where bodies were packed together really tightly. So I used to go to a lot of shows and music festivals and things. And sure enough, like, after every festival, I'd come home with a sinus infection or a respiratory disease or like a cold. Those environments aren't good for something like COVID, but, like, going to your friend's house to watch a movie together and eat pizza? Just fucking do it. Be good to yourself. I do understand that these circumstances aren't for everyone. Like, there are people who have family members at home who are more high risk, but how do I want to say this? Because I don't want to be insensitive to other people's experiences. And I realize that a lot of people have reason to be more cautious than I do. Use your best judgment. Because if you don't think that it's in your best interest because of the people that you're exposed to day for you to, like, see a friend every other weekend, that's obviously your choice. You're an adult, you know how to make your own choices. But I do think that, like, for people like me who live alone and who really don't see other people anyway and really don't have any events to go to, like, sometimes my only human interaction is when I see friends. And for me, it's kind of like my responsibility to make sure that I continue to socialize and expose myself to other human beings. So, you know, I understand. I understand that my way is not the way, and it's not going to work for everybody else equally. But I know so many people who are like me right now, who are just kind of freaking out and and not sure how to act, like not sure what the most appropriate moves are during this very strange time. And I feel like if I should be comfortable enough to go into a building where I'm wearing a mask with like 200 other people while we are all buy our groceries, I can, you know, be responsible enough to go to a friend's house every so often and just make sure that I'm keeping, you know, my ability to communicate up and nurturing my spirit, because those things are incredibly important to me right now. I am no good to anybody if I'm not first good to myself. And I had friends over for dinner tonight, and it was very refreshing. You know what I mean? To actually like be in the presence of other breathing people with pulses. Like, oh God. I take for granted how important that is for me. And it's not something that I can do all the time, but you know, once a month, once every other month, or just like going to see other friends who I know have also been trapped indoors for too long. Why not? Why not? I know that there's really only so much that frequent hand washing and hand sanitizer can do. I feel like we also just need to remember that our mitigative measures for the pandemic isn't really going to like make it go away. It just kind of like keeps it at bay. So, you know, I still have a lot of faith and a lot of hope for the professionals who are looking into ways to eradicate this thing. Because humanity is just far too chaotic. I really hope that other people like me can kind of like find little slivers of joy right now in any way that they can. I know that, for instance, when I go out to the grocery store, as an example, I get really excited to talk to strangers now. Like, I can't believe like what this loneliness has done to my personality. Because beforehand, I didn't want to talk to any strangers. Like, ew, people. And they're peopling. Who wants to be around other humans? Well, I do. I really miss it. I really do. I really miss it a lot. I remember there was a period in the middle of the summer where, for anybody who has experienced PTSD and knows what flashbacks are, they kind of get you when you're not sort of prepared for them. Like, sometimes when you get flashbacks, you won't even be thinking about the thing that you're flashing back to. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes they just like zing you out of nowhere when you're just minding your own business. But what was funny is that like during the earlier part of the pandemic and the start of summer, I was getting good flashbacks. Like, has this ever happened to anybody else where you're suddenly like overcome with a memory of a good thing that happened? I was getting like flashbacks to, you know, birthday parties, my trip to England, which was very weird. It happened in the autumn, but it was summer, so there was like nothing there was nothing around me that could trigger it, not the weather, certainly. Certain music festivals and shows that I'd been to, or certain like house parties that I'd been to, just like weird flashbacks to events that I wasn't able to experience at that time because I was too concerned about COVID. And it's funny that in times of duress, the brain not only can remind you of the things that haunt you, but remind you of the most blissful memories. And that's funny. I haven't had many of those these days, but now I have to try to actively summon them up in my imagination. But for a while, they were just like kind of zinging me out of nowhere. Yeah. Funny that. The brain is so strange. The human mind is so strange. Right, Pixel? I don't know if you guys heard that, but she went... She's a good girl. So... Yes? What? You just... What do you want? Oh my god. Look at this. This is how she manipulates me. Just giving her belly rubs. I feel like Pixel and I have a mutually symbiotic relationship where we both offer the other all of the snuggles and love that the other craves. Because I, too, am a snuggle bug. But I think Pixel has the longer end of the stick here because she doesn't have to pay the bills. And I do, damn it. And she doesn't have to work. She just gets to sleep and lay around all day and eat bugs off the counter. Look at her. She's absolutely puddling. You're too much. Looking good there, boo-boo. Alright. I think I've spoke enough thoughts. This has been refreshing. Oh shit. So, before I go, let me break something else down for you. If you guys happened to be unfortunate enough to be present on this past Saturday when I decided out of the blue, because of course I did, that I was going to film a live video for my YouTube channel, and now you see that it has disappeared. Consider yourself lucky. It's really not worth your time. I was feeling very clunky and ridiculous, and I wanted to do something in celebration of me finally getting to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That is a very important milestone for me. I've had my YouTube channel for a number of years, and never at all during that time did I think that I would reach out to that many people and have them want to stick around. So I decided like halfway into that live video that I thought it inadequate for that kind of a celebration. It was just a lot of awkwardness and just didn't feel appropriate for what I wanted it to be. So I decided to dirty delete that shit. And I'm going to give you a proper celebration for 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I figured it's probably going to be a show and tell of some kind. I had tried showing off the updated parts of my Book of Shadows. Perhaps I could do an altar tour. I could give you a tour of some of my artwork. If anybody has made it to this part of this video and has any suggestions of things that you want to see, or has any questions for me, I can throw something together. Maybe we can do like a short Q&A as well. Anything at all, any suggestions would be wonderful. I hope that the weekend was good to you all. I hope that you're feeling okay right now. There's some funk in the air, so if you're not feeling okay, that's okay. And for now, I leave you. And until next time, everyone, I wish you very sweet dreams.